discuss, inshallah, in this lecture. One of the most important thing that comes into my mind, and I can relate it a little bit to my story too, and a lot of us that are listening here, they can also relate it to their stories too. So what happened was that imagine you are living in Pakistan, or imagine you are living in India, or imagine you're living in Iraq or Iran or any other Middle Eastern or Eastern country, and you get permission from Canadian government or US government or UK government or anywhere from the Western country that you will be getting the visa really soon, and you have to go for your medical examination. The immense happiness that a family has, especially the head of the family has, when they get this invitation and when they get this letter from the government or from the relevant agencies is insurmountable. Like, it cannot be measured. They are so happy when they get this letter for the invitation, and they are pretty much sure that they will be going to this Western country really soon. And this is what's happening for a lot of people that are really wishing to come here. When I go back to Pakistan, or when a lot of the people that are from their relevant countries, when they go back to their countries, they would notice that a lot of people, they want to come here. And they would ask you, like, what is the procedure of applying to Canada? What are the requirements here? What are the things that we need to have? What about the medical examination? What about the IELTS score that we need? How about our English speaking skills? How much we need to write? And all those questions that they might have. What about the budgeting? And how would you live your life there? There's so many questions that are in the mind of the people. And what is the ultimate goal they have? The ultimate goal that they have with them is to come here and settle here and start their life from the scratch, right? And then they think that the countries that they are living into, be it Pakistan, be it India, or be it any other country that they are migrating from, that country is not worth it. It's not a country that they should be into. So you would see this attitude among the people, and you would come across this attitude a lot, right? And once they get the medical examination invitation, they go for the medical examination, and imagine for a few weeks or few months, the people would wait, and finally they would get a call, and then they would get a PR, or they would get a working visa, or whatever the requirements, the legal requirements that are necessary to fulfill. They get the invitation to the Western country. Now the whole family gets migrated from where? From their own country, from their own relevant home country, to Canada or to US or to any other Western country. What follows then? Then they come here, they start their life from scratch, and then they start living there. What is the ultimate goal they have? The ultimate goal that they have is that the country that they were living there had some security issues, had some issues that were related to basic needs of the life. They didn't have the water, they didn't have the electricity, they had some other issues too. Now when they are here, they will be safe, there won't be any problem for electricity, and then they will be able to afford more luxuries. And then there are so many things that are going into their minds, right? This is something really natural, and it happens with most of the family, right? When they come here, they think that coming here is the biggest blessing of their life. It's the biggest achievement of their life. This is what they are thinking in their minds. And this is really understandable. Why? Because they are thinking that when they will come here, they will achieve their whatever dream they have. And possibly the dream is that they will come here, they'll settle here, they will have all the financial luxuries and whatever they have in their mind. Now, when they come here, obviously they have to start their life from scratch, right? They are thinking they have achieved their dream. When they come here, they work hard. And when they're working hard, right, the people or their children that were back at their home, right, back in their countries where they were living in, they were pretty much, I won't say the best Islamic people or the best Muslims there, but they were following Deen a little bit. They were not being misguided by the Western values here. And they were pretty much into their own loop, right? So you had that ability to control your children. You had the ability to control your whole family. And when I say control it, control doesn't mean to control it literally. It means that you were able to keep a good eye of what the people in the family were doing, right? But when you come here, the schools, where the children were going, they are being exposed to new values here. They are being exposed to new ideas here. Now, the same lady that was doing hijab there, when she goes to school and when she hears from her professor or when she hears from her friends, and when her friends are saying and bullying her for wearing the hijab and saying this is a sign of backwardness, this is a sign of living in a middle age era. So when she thinks about it, she takes off the hijab. The person, the guy who came here, who wanted to get good education, when he get exposed to some of the people here and some of the Western values here, he starts drinking. And in your mind, few years later, you reflect upon your life and you start thinking, oh my God, my son is involved in drugs. My daughter has taken off the hijab. She is coming like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. You know, she has been with her friends and God knows who are her friends. And she is completely oblivious of our values, and let alone our values. She is not even practicing Islam to the basic level. You know, she's drinking, she's hanging out with non-mahram, and not even normal hangout. She is pretty much involved in all the bad activities that the people are doing here generally. So when you come across this kind of situation, it becomes really, really scary. And this is where it is important for us. Here, I am not talking to the children specifically. Here, I'm talking to the parents that are listening to my lecture. Here, you have to take an action. That you are here now. This is a reality. We are living here in West. We are living in Canada. How do we control our children? How do we make sure that when we say, Allahumma ajjil li waliyik al-faraj, oh Allah, hasten the zuhur, hasten the coming of Imam, Sahib al-Zaman, waj'alna min ansarihi wa awanihi, and oh Allah, make us among the people that are supporting his cause, that are helping him, and that will be a key source and catalyst when he comes in achieving his goal. One way we want to be the soldiers of the army of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, and the other way we have values that are completely opposite to what our deen and religion is teaching. This is a question, this is really, really fundamental question that the parents should think about. Second problem are the problems that our kids are going through. And pretty much all the kids that are here and all my younger brothers and sisters that are listening to this lecture, and also my parents, my respectable parents and uncle and aunties that are listening to this lecture, they would completely understand what I'm trying to say here. What happens is that when these kids, when they start growing up, they need someone to look upon. They need someone as their role model, right? The first problem that the people are coming across, the first problem is that they want a role model. When they want a role model, who are the people that they're looking after? Who are the people that they are eyeing towards, right? They are eyeing towards the people that have vlogs. There are really normal people like you and me, but they just got famous by chance. And now they are trying to force or trying to control what other people are choosing and what other people want. Imagine if I'm looking at the vlogs, if I'm looking at the YouTube videos of a star, quote unquote, here it's quote unquote, the star that I really admire, that I really like. So what would I do? I would try to imitate them in everything possible. In everything possible, right? Oh, what kind of brand they are wearing? Oh, they're wearing Adidas. I want to get an Adidas trouser. Oh, what kind of like shoes they are wearing, right? They're wearing from Puma. I want to get something from Puma, right? So instead of them making the decision, instead of their parents making the decision, who is the one that's controlling their decision power? Not their kids, not their parents. It's the vlogs, or it's the stars that they're looking. It's the videos that they're looking after. Those are the people that they are admiring. And those are the people that are controlling their decision making. That's one of the problems that you come across. What is the second problem that our kids and our children are going through? Our teenagers and youngsters are going through. And the problem that they are going through, the second one is that the times are changing really, really quickly. There used to be a time before, and let me just explain you a little bit, like 10 or 15 or let's suppose 30 years later, the things that were considered or were being taken as immoral, now after 15 or 20 years or 30 years later, they are being legalized, and the people that are speaking against those things, they are being penalized. What is one of the examples that we can use? One of the example is homosexuality. Few years back, like let's say 50 years back or 60 years back, it was considered as an immoral act. It was considered as something that should be reprimanded. But now you see it is something which is in the mainstream. And anyone that criticizes them for their beliefs or for their choices, you would see that these people are being criticized. These people are called what? These people are called backwards, right? Can I request all my students that are watching it, please turn off your camera and please turn off your thing. Jazakallahu khairan. So that's the second problem that our children are going through. The third problem, and I think this is the most important problem that our kids are going through. The third problem is that the communication between the parents and the communication between the children have gone really, really low. In old times, when the mother would be at home, she would constantly take care of the children. What are they doing and what are they not doing? I remember 15, 20 years back when the internet was not really prevalent, right? So our only source of entertainment generally would be to go outside and play cricket or football or whatever game that we used to play. So our only sole source of entertainment was going 1 or 2 hours in the evening and playing whatever we used to play. Rest of the time I was under the supervision of my parents. But now the time has changed. In the old times, the people that were considered backwards or the people that were not looked with respect were those people that would spend their whole time outside the house, right? And people would say, oh, these people, they don't have anything else to do. They sit around with the friends that are not really good with morals, that are not really good with ethics, that are not really good when it comes to their knowledge. So my kid, who is going and hanging around with those people, have gone from good to bad, right? This was a basic understanding, right? But now what has happened? Now we have gadgets. Now we have smartphones. These smartphones that we say, quote unquote, probably they're not the smartphones. They're probably evil phones for a lot of us. These smartphones, this internet, this laptop, these gadgets that we have at our home, it has made sure that things that were considered sometimes that you have to go outside your way to, have access to, now you have access to those things in your hands. You can access to the most notorious of websites and most graphics of website by just clicking one URL. You can just search around something. Oh, this is the thing. And then you are watching around the whole night. And the parents that are there, they're not able to supervise their children properly. And the second problem, which is really prevalent and which is really widespread in Western circle, is that when you are living here, the parents, and they have genuine reasons, I'm not criticizing them, they have genuine reasons that they have to take care of the bills. They have to take care of the mortgage or rent. They have to take care of the insurance. So which means that both men and women of the house are working. So the whole day they are outside. When they come back, they are making the food, they are cleaning the house and doing the stuff that they need to, doing groceries, banks, etc. And when they're coming back, they're not able to spend time with their children. And when they are not communicating and spending time with the children, they don't know what's happening in their lives. And the way the children are being taken care of are through their friends or the things that they're watching. Those are the things that are affecting their ideas. Those are the things that are affecting their mindset. So now we have 3 problems in front of us. And these problems are really specific, I would say, with the Western circle. I would say not all of them, but one or two of them are probably really something that you can only see here, that are not there in Pakistan and India. Yeah, there are problems in Pakistan and India too, but they are not as bad and they are not as open as it is here. So now the kid comes in and now you have a problem in your hand that your kid is going out of your control, or even if he's not out of control, there is a chance that he might go in future out of your control. And not out of your control, but should I say like this, instead of being a good Muslim, he can become, you know, someone who is really bad in the nature, and God forbid, he can even leave the deen. Instead of being a Muslim, he can become an ex-Muslim. You know, these are the problems that are coming across. If you go through the website, there are dedicated websites for ex-Muslims, the people that were Muslim that have left their religion and are something, you know, they might be atheists, they might be agnostics, or they might be something else completely. So these are the problems that we are facing right now. What is the solution? Does it mean that I should leave my country, I should leave the place where I'm living, and I should migrate back to my country, or let's suppose Pakistan and India? Of course, this is not the solution. This will carry so much emotional stress and so much problem for the whole family. And it is sometimes nearly impossible to do that. So what is the thing that we need to do here? There are a lot of solutions that can be provided here, right? But one of the things that we can surely do is to appreciate, especially for these for the parent. These are some of the lines that I'm trying to mention here, just for the sake of the parents. Inshallah, we will come to the student part later. But this is really, really important for the parents, right? You know, the most problematic thing that happens, right, when there are advertisements. Firstly, there is a question: oh, what are mosque doing in Western countries? What are the Hussainiyas or the Imam Bargas doing here? They're not doing anything. These are some of the statements that I generally hear. Okay, they might be true, and this statement might be true in some sense, right? But not completely. You know, almost all the Hussainiyas and the Imam Bargas and the Masajid here, they're offering Saturday or Sunday classes. They are offering weekend classes, or the Islamic school at least, on the weekend. You know, it has been advertised so many times, and parents are being communicated so many times. But how many people or how many children do you actually see being enrolled in these classes in school? You know, negligible. If we have like 50 families, if we have 200 families living in a town, out of 200, only 50 families or 25 families will actually come to the center. And out of those 50 or 25 families that you are communicating them that please send your children to these schools because they need to be educated Islamically, how many families are actually sending their children to the school? This is a question, this is a really serious question that I'm putting forward. Unfortunately, really handful of people are sending their children. And when they are sending their children, some of those families, not all of them, but some of these families are not really serious either. Oh, I cannot send my kid because he has an assignment to do. Oh, I cannot send my kid because we have a program to go to Niagara today. Oh, I cannot send my kid because we have a house gathering today. We have people coming to our house. They would have all the reasoning in the world to use in order to justify why their kids are not coming to the madrasa, why their kids are not coming to the Islamic schools, right? This is a problem that we are coming across as a society. You know, people here, the Imam Bargas here, the academies here, the Islamic schools here, right? I'm talking generally for all of them. You know, if you can send them to Baqar Uloom, send them to somewhere near. You know, at least have the relationship between the knowledge and the person who wants to acquire that. I'm not here to say for any specific school. I want all of the parents to think about it and send their children to the relevant schools wherever they can. You know, you go from east to west. You start from Oshawa and you come all the way to Milton. You know, we're talking about GDA. You know, we have so many Imam Bargas here. We have so many masajid here. And we have so many schools that are operating on weekends. But how many of them or how many families are actually sending their kids? These are the statements. If you go there and if you actually talk to the management, they will give you the numbers. I personally have taught in one of the school, and I can say with surety and I can say comfortably that there are not a lot of parents that are sending their kids. And we as a parents, and inshallah me as a future parent too, we need to really think about the future of the kids. And when there are some opportunities for them to acquire the knowledge of the deen, it is important for them to get the knowledge of the deen too. The second problem, or the second solution, I would say, the second solution is communicating with your kids intellectually. You know, like our deen, the madhab of Ahlul Bayt is a little bit different when you compare to the madhab of the other school of thoughts, right? The other school of thought and the Shia madhab are a little bit different when it comes to this thing. You know, our most prolific writer is Sheikh Kulaini, Muhammad bin Yaqub al-Kulaini. He has written a whole book that's called Al-Kafi. It's an 8 volumes book, and it contains over 16,000 ahadith. The first book, or the first chapter he mentioned in his book is what? Kitabul Aqli wal Jahl. You know, as parents, when we are communicating with our kids, we need to do it intellectually. We can't just say this, oh, don't do this because I'm saying you not to do this. They will probably listen to you for that hour. They will probably listen to you for that week or month or year or years. But a few years later or a few months later, when they are able to exercise their own authority, then don't expect them to hear from you. So whatever communication our parents need to do, they need to do it really intellectually. You know, one of the hadiths that we have from Imam Rada alayhi salatu wassalam, and this hadith is beautiful. Imam says that Siddiqu kulli imra'in aqluhu wa aduwwuhu jahla, which says that the friend of a person, the friend of any human being, is his or her intelligence, and the enemy of a person is what? His or her ignorance. So what is the best asset that we have in our hand? It is the intellect that Allah has given us, and to use that intellect. And how can we use that intellect? And how can we use that in a really good way? We can use that and we can practice that in a better way if we actually send our children and our kids to the madrasa. At least if our parents are not really well educated when it comes to answering the questions that the children might have, then they should refer and then they should direct them to the relevant authorities, or at least to the relevant schools that they could be taught, that they could be educated, and they can get their answers from those educational institutes. So Baqarul Uloom, or any other madrasa for that matter, is one of the educational institute that you can probably send your kids and have them educated and get their question answers answered that are pretty much revolving in their mind. Now we come to the topic of knowledge. And I think I have gone roughly around more than 25 minutes. The topic of knowledge itself is really vast. You know, the first ayah that I read in the start of my lecture is what? قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Allah is asking a rhetorical question. You know the rhetorical question that we have? Imagine if I'm trying to question you, and if I'm asking you a really obvious question, you know, instead of giving you a statement, I would ask you as a question. Instead of saying Canada is bigger than, let's suppose Canada is bigger than Greenland, or Canada is bigger than Iceland, or Canada is bigger than UK, right, in size, right? How would I say? Isn't Canada bigger than UK? Isn't Canada bigger than Belgium? Isn't Canada bigger than France? You know, as a rhetorical question, I'm asking you something. Likewise, Allah, instead of saying that people that know, people that possess knowledge are greater than the people that are ignorant, that don't possess knowledge, what Allah said in the Quran, in Surah Al-Zumar, Allah has said, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Are the knowledgeable, are the people that possess knowledge and the ignorant equal? You know, such a beautiful way of asking. And surely when you are asking these questions, what would be your answer? Of course, the people that possess knowledge. Of course, people that are educated. Of course, people that have know-how about the things, they are far better than the people that don't know about that stuff. So imagine Allah is praising people that possess knowledge, right? That possesses knowledge. Now, for us that are listening to this lecture, what should be our motivation? Our motivation should be that when we are listening and when we are going through and when we are thinking and going through the lectures that are disseminating the knowledge, we should be there firstly. And when we should be there, we should have a notebook with us too. So we can write the knowledge, whatever the speaker or whatever the writer or whatever the Maulana is saying. You know, it's a beautiful hadith that says, قَيَّدُ الْعِلْمِ بِالْكِتَابَةِ. Try to write the knowledge or try to possess the knowledge. How? By writing it down. You know, in our old days, when I was small, I would go into the lectures and I would have a big register, right? A big copy, a huge copy with me. And I would have a pen and I would go to the lectures. I'm just saying that even though I was small and it would look a little bit awkward, but I was being told from the madrasa where I was studying, from the people that I was studying under, they would say, when you go to a lecture, try to write down the notes, whatever the Maulana is saying. Alhamdulillah, you know, you write it down, then you go through it. 5 months later or 6 months later, you might not even remember one word. But if you have all the notes written down, you are able to revisit that properly and keep it in your mind. That's the first ayah that is important for us to keep in our mind. And it should be a motivation for us to join the lectures or join the educational institute that are educating Islamically, or even something which is quote unquote something that has to do with the knowledge of this world. Second is from Surah Al-Mujadila. Surah Al-Mujadila, verse number 11, it says, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. Allah will raise the believers among you and those given knowledge to high ranks, and Allah is aware of your deeds. Here too, Allah is giving the high ranks to whom? To the people that have the faith, firstly. So the faith or the iman or the right aqidah is the most important thing. Without the right aqidah, whatever actions we do, it might not be fruitful. But if we have the right aqidah, and if we do the actions, then the chances of those actions being accepted from Allah or by Allah are higher. So the first thing is that we need to have the right aqidah. Second important thing is that Allah has, after the aqidah, Allah has put the people that possesses knowledge, that have the knowledge, Allah has given them the higher rank, right? So if you want to be, you know, like we all want to go to the Jannah, we all want to be in paradise, but which kind of paradise are we looking at? There are really different levels of paradise. There can be a really basic level too, and there can be a level where you are really near to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So do you really want to go to a really basic level, or you want to get the optimum level that you can reach? And that optimum level you can reach is through acquiring the knowledge and applying it in your life. So this tells you the importance, and this tells you how important it is to acquire the knowledge. Finally, you know, the Al-Kafi, the hadith that I was talking about, you know, there's a whole chapter which is called Kitabu Fadlil Ilm or Kitabu Fadlul Ilm. That's a beautiful chapter. It talks about the excellence of knowledge. If you go to Al-Kafi, and by the way, Al-Kafi is being translated into English too. So if you download Al-Kafi, volume number 1, under this, roughly around 30 or 40 pages later, you would come across this chapter. And if you have the time, you can go through some of the hadiths too. So I'm quoting some of the hadiths from there, and inshallah, it will be really helpful and it will be really motivating for us to go through the path of knowledge. What are some of those hadiths? The first hadith is from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, and he quotes Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Prophet said, "Talabul ilmi fariidatun ala kulli muslimin, ala inna Allah yuhibbu bughat al-ilm." That acquiring the knowledge or seeking the knowledge is compulsory. It's not an option. It's compulsory for every Muslim to acquire knowledge. And Allah loves those people that are acquiring the knowledge, that are going for the knowledge, that are living their life, and that are taking out their time to get the knowledge. So whatever time you are investing here, it's not something which is not fruitful. Whatever time you're spending here and getting the knowledge here, it is a path that can make you really close to Allah. Second thing, second hadith. Second hadith is from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. And we need to remember this hadith. This is a really important hadith. And it might sound really harsh for a lot of people that are listening it. But this tells you the importance of knowledge, the importance of writing down and acquiring and trying to learn whatever is important for us. It says from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, قَالَ لَوَدِدْتُ أَنَّ أَصْحَابِي ضُرِبَتْ رُؤُوسُهُمْ بِالسِّيَاطِ حَتَّى يَتَفَقَّهُ. Such a beautiful hadith. Honestly, it's really beautiful for me, but some people might, for them, it might be a little bit of a hard pill. Imam Sadiq says that I wish, لَوَدِدْتُ أَنَّ أَصْحَابِي ضُرِبَتْ بِالسِّيَاطِ, that I wish that the heads, the heads of my companions, the heads of my associates, the people that are close to me, the people that are within my inner circle, their heads are being whipped. They're being stricken properly. Why? So that they can acquire the knowledge. Imagine here. Imam is saying that you can, not saying that you can use it, but Imam is trying to tell you the importance that even if there is a teacher that strike you from using a ruler maybe, or using something else, right? And not strike you really powerfully, or just gently on your head and trying to force you or trying to make you more closer towards acquiring the knowledge, then this is something that I like. And I wish if this thing could be implemented. This tells you the importance of knowledge. This tells you how important it is for us to know halal and haram. The other day I was reading, a khutbah. I came down, the namaz was done, and there was a moment that came in. There was a brother that came in. He was asking me, and mashallah, he's over roughly around 40 years of age. And I was discussing a masla related to ghusl. Once I was done discussing it, he asked me, Maulana, can you tell me what is the right way of doing the ghusl? Imagine for so many years, he even doesn't know how to do ghusl. Imagine when he doesn't know how to do ghusl, then all the salat that he has done in his life, all the prayers that he has offered, and all the other ibadahs that need tahara, in which we need to have the wudu or the ghusl, all those ibadahs, all those worship that he has done over his years, what should I say about that? Allah is the one that will accept it, of course. But he doesn't even know the basic of, and the most basic ruling of taking a bath Islamically, which means all the salat that he has done in his whole life, he has to repeat it all over again. Why? Because he didn't know how to do ghusl. And probably all the fasting that he has done in his life, and if he has done hajj in that situation, he has to repeat it all over again. This tells you, my brothers and sisters, right? This tells you that how important it is for us to know the basic Islamic rulings. We should know how to do ghusl properly. We should know how to do wudu properly. These are the basic fiqh rulings. And on top of it, these are the fiqh rulings. Even if someone doesn't know about it, or even if someone didn't act upon it, he still might be Shia. But if there is a problem in the creed, if there is a problem in the theology and the aqidah, then the problem becomes worse. How many of us do we really know what are the important components of our deen? And do we really know the proofs of them? If someone asks you and say, prove me the existence of God, what is the answer we have? Can we really show them and prove them logically the existence of God? Let's suppose someone who believes in the existence of God, but he doesn't believe in the Prophet of Rasulullah. He comes into you and he asks you, what is the proof that you have that your Prophet Muhammad was a prophet? Do we really know how to answer that? These are the fundamental basic aqidah questions, right? Imagine someone who is a Muslim too, he comes to you and he asks you, What is the proof you have that you believe in the wilayat and the imamat of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam? What is our answer? So if we don't have these answers to these basic theological questions, if we don't have these answers for the basic jurisprudential questions, if we don't know the basic ethics, and probably if we don't know the history of our Aimmas and the prophets, how do you expect? How do you really expect that Allah would be loving, or Allah would be, liking the situation that you are into? Of course, Allah would like you, but Allah has some standards too that He would like His servants. Allah has mentioned the rulings. Allah wants us to get the knowledge. And if we don't get the knowledge, then trust me, if we go on the day of judgment and if we say, oh, Allah, we didn't know that, and we have all the opportunities in this world to acquire that knowledge, but we didn't do and we didn't acquire the knowledge, then what would be the outcome? Of course, the outcome would be horrible. There are some other hadiths too that I want to mention, but we're just running short of time. And one or two things at the end. And one is my sincere request to my uncles and aunties and the parents that are listening to it, my dear parents and my dear uncle and aunties that are listening to this. It is really important for you to educate your children. There is an ayah in the Quran that goes, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. That, O believers, save yourself and your family from the hellfire. So it's not only you that you have to save yourself, you have to save your family too. You would be answerable when you go on the day of judgment. Okay, you have practiced namaz, you have practiced whatever needs to be done. But if your wife, or if the wife was practicing, and if the husband wasn't practicing, and if the kids were not practicing, right? How would you answer in front of Allah? Because Allah is explicitly mentioning that you have to take care of yourself too and your family too. So for my dear parents, you have to motivate your kids to go to any Islamic school. I'm not here to advertise any specific Islamic school, any Islamic school for that matter, or any online tuition that you can get, or any possible way that you can educate your children. It's not difficult. It's not difficult, I'm telling you. You need to be a little bit watchful of what they're doing. And also, if you're not able, or if you don't have the capacity, if you don't have the time to educate your children, you should enroll them in a relevant Islamic educational institute. That's the first thing. And my second request is to my dear brothers and sisters. You are like my younger brother and younger sisters that are listening to it, right? I have gone through your age. I know it's a little bit difficult. I understand it's really difficult to take the time off and to sacrifice an hour or two of your weekend and give it to acquiring the education. I understand that, completely understand that. You are going through your teenage. There are a lot of plans that you might have with your friends and with the family. But think about this. You have some duties towards your parents. You have some duties towards your family. You have duties towards your friends and everyone. Don't you have a duty towards your imam? Don't you have duty towards Allah Almighty? You have duty towards your creator too. I think he has the highest right up on you than anyone else. You have your duty. You are indebted towards your imam too, because he has the higher authority on you than even your own parents. Take out some time. Get the knowledge of deen. You don't have to be a Maulana. You don't have to be a speaker. Try to get something basic, something that will help you in your future life. That when you are going through the questions that might come into your mind, you're able to answer that really well. So keeping all these things in the mind, I'm going to inshallah deliver. There will be a proper classes that will be happening for our fellow brothers and sisters from the institute. Inshallah, the management will obviously will let you know better. But with me specifically, I will be giving 2 lectures a month, hopefully, inshallah. And in those 2 lectures in a month, I will be discussing the creed and the history in one of them. And in the second lecture, I'll be only discussing about the fiqh. So my lecture would be generally for like 35-40 minutes, and then you would have the time, all the participants that are listening to it, they would have the time that they will be able to question and ask whatever confusion they have from the lecture, or even from outside the lecture, if we would have the time, and if I would know the answer, and if we could entertain that, I would still try to answer the questions. And all the listeners that are listening online or on the channels, if you would have any question or anything, you can contact the management from Baqar Uloom, and you can send your questions, whatever you have. And inshallah, when we have time, after we have answered, preferably we want you to register your kids to it's all online, so you don't have to come physically. It's all online. So obviously, if your kid is being enrolled in the school, he would be given and he would be preferred when it comes to answering the questions. But inshallah, if we have time left, and if the questions from the class are being answered, then I would be more than helpful and more than happy, rather, to answer the questions that our online viewers would be asking. So this end my lecture with this dua, inshallah. May Allah increase our knowledge. رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا وَعَمَلًا وَأَلْحِقْنَا بِالصَّالِحِينَ وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ وَآلِهِ الطَّاهِرِينَ. So if any brother or any sister has a question, please do ask the question. And for our sisters that want to be part of this class, please make sure that you are with the proper Islamic dress code, with proper hijab. And inshallah, if there is any other question, we have 15 minutes that we can take the question and answer that. Jazakallah. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Jazakallah khair for the valuable knowledge you have provided to us and the importance of religious education. I would like to ask you the first question, which many of the parents have there in mind. Like, how do you see the future of Muslim youth in the Western community?
Jazakallah, sister, for your question. May Allah bless you and your family, and I'll bless every participant here. Honestly, like, it all depends the way we are acting and the way we are prepared. You know, like a lot of Muslims that migrated to the Caribbean countries, right? So you go to West Indies, you go to Trinidad, you go to Georgetown, you go to these Barbados or these kind of like the West Indies countries, you would come across that the Muslim that migrated like 100 years back or 150 years back, 200 years back, they have completely left their religion, I would say. Not completely, I would say, but most of them. You know, like they have lost their identity completely. And I see a really dark future for us if we are not connected from our deen properly, and if we are not acting upon our deen properly. You know, when I say deen, I don't want to say that we should include our culture in the deen, because cultures are something that are for those specific group of people that are living in a specific country or a specific area. But deen is something different completely. So if we are not acting upon the deen completely, or I would say to the basic level, and if we don't have the right knowledge, then a time would come in 50 years or 100 years that unfortunately, you know, I don't see a really good situation, and our situation might be really similar to the situation of those Muslims that migrated to these West Indies countries and whatever happened, right? So I still know a lot of people, you know, like the brother is Hindu, like the sister is a Muslim, and they are marrying to a Hindu, and then they're marrying to a Christian. And, you know, for them, the deen is the least important thing in their life. And that's the problem that I see here. And the reason for this is that they don't have a good understanding of the deen. They think deen is a really personal matter. It just means that you worship Allah someone is bowing his head down in front of an idol, the other one is praying and praying 5 times. That's what the deen is. Unfortunately, our definition of deen is really specific. Since our definition of deen is really specific, so we think that deen should be given importance in few of the custom things that we do in our life, for half an hour in a day. That's what deen has demanded from us. And our deen is half an hour a day or maybe maximum an hour a day, right? But the way the deen wants us to be is to be a 24 hours Muslim, a 24 hours Shia, a 24 hours follower of Ahlul Bayt and Quran, right? So if we don't follow their footsteps, then the values that are being taught here, the things that are being communicated to us, I personally feel the situation would just go bad to worse if we don't educate ourselves, if we don't practice our deen properly. Next question, please.
Jazakallah, brother. Though the situation you have mentioned is very sad, but it must be truly an eye-opener for many of the parents. The next question I would like to ask you about, like many youth think that if they will follow religious obligation, or if they will be a very prominent believer, they might not be accepted in the Western society. Like some of them are studying in public school, in fact, many of them. So they may feel that if they will be going for prayer at the Salah time, so that would be something which will make them stand out. So are there any recommendation how to solve these issues?
That's a wonderful question too. Look, personally, I'm working in a company here, and when the time for the Salah comes in, or even for the Friday prayers, I go outside and I try to pray at the relevant time when I'm supposed to. And it is something, if you are really into your deen, and if you let them know that why are you doing this, some of the problem, and I think these people are the Western people that are basically looking you down upon. You can change their opinions to you if you can educate them really well. This is the same experience that I have gone through, that my manager, like I would go and pray, and obviously he would respect me for that. And we had a discussion over it, not specifically on this topic, but something related to the deen. And I was able to communicate him a really good understanding of what I believe and why do we believe this. And I had a good knowledge, I won't say good knowledge, or a little bit knowledge of his beliefs too. He was a Catholic Christian, so I know like what are their beliefs and whatnot. So I think the most important thing, this complexity that we have, or this complex that we have, that if we would practice our deen, it has to do with lack of knowledge too. If you are really firm in your deen, if you are really firm in your aqidah, and if you can explain them logically, I'm pretty sure the good thing about West, one thing that I really appreciate here is that if you try to educate a normal person logically, they would understand. They would not try to argue with you for hours. I'm not saying for all of them, but a lot of them, I would say. So if you know the basic of it, that, this is the reason I'm praying, inshallah, there are a lot of philosophical points that we can use. We don't have the time to discuss those, right? Be it regarding hijab, be it regarding prayers, be it regarding fasting, be it regarding so many other things, not drinking, etc., etc. If we just know the basic points and the reasons that we do some of the stuff, I'm telling you, it will be really easy for you to convince them. And you would be so confident when you are acting upon your deen. When it comes to the promotion, when it comes to these things, these are the things that will be a test for you a little bit. You have to choose between, there are some of the questions that might come in. If I don't go to that party where they are serving alcohol, I might not be able to get the promotion. Okay, here is the test that comes in. In Surah Al-Ankabut, Allah has said explicitly that you will be tested. You just saying that, I believe and I am a firm believer doesn't mean, right? You have to practice it. And in the time of, when you are being tested, at that time, your understanding and your association of the deen will be tested, right? So when it comes to the haram things, you have to prevent yourself from doing it, obviously, even if it will be costing you some part of your profession too, or even if it will be costing you your promotion, right? Why? Because you're doing it for the sake of Allah. But does it mean that I won't be able to explain them that why I'm doing something or why I'm not doing something? No, you will still have a chance. You can still have a chat with your management, and you would obviously be able to communicate that, look, this is the reason I don't drink. These are the medical problems. And even if you are Christian, you go to your books, even in your books, it's been said that we don't have to eat pork. We can't have alcohol. We can't have these kind of things, right? So one thing that I firmly believe is that, again, it comes back to this point of acquiring the knowledge gives you a lot of confidence to you when you are talking to the people, and then you have the ability to convince them properly. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah, brother. That was really explanatory and encouraging as well. Now I would request the students to please turn on your cameras and introduce yourself to Brother Jarry. Just tell your name and your age.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name is Jawad Hussain and I am 14 years old. And thank you very much for the lecture. It was really knowledgeable.
Hi, my name is Kumair Gilani. I am 13 years old. And thank you for the entire lecture. It's very nice to listen and stuff.
Assalamu alaikum. My camera doesn't work, but I've seen you in the Imam Barga. My name is Syed Haider. I'm 13 and I really enjoyed listening to your lecture.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hussain. I'm 14 years old.
Assalamu alaikum, Jarry bhai. My name is Syed Jarry, as you know me already. And yeah, I really enjoyed the lecture. It was very informative, and I really believe that we need to talk a lot more about how we have to integrate religion into our daily life.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hussain and I'm 14 years old, and I really enjoyed your lecture.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mahir Rizvi, and I really enjoyed.
Jazakallah, brother Mahir. Bushra. Are we done, or do we have anyone else?
I think we are done. Just we can all just do a small dua and can end our program.
Inshallah, if someone can read the dua of Imam Sahib al-Zaman, please. I think we should all read it together. Just unmute your mic and let's just read the dua of Imam Sahib al-Zaman at the end. All right. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة في كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا عينا تسكنه وتابعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Jazakallah, brothers, for Jazakumullah, and especially sister. Jazakallah, Allah bless you so much, and all the brothers and sisters that were listening to the lecture, especially all those online listeners too. Allah bless you all. Inshallah, we will be having our next lecture next month, and looking forward to see you all.
कब ये इंसान के बस की बात नहीं कि अदल व इंसाफ को राइज किया जाए